Hello, my friend. In this video, we're discussing how to give feedback to team members in a way that inspires them to seek out even more feedback in the future. This is a clip from an interview we did with Andrew Freedman, author of Thrive, the leader's guide to building a high-performance culture. This is Business Leadership Today. I'm your host, Matt Tenney.
In order for people to know what they're doing that they should do more of, or what they're doing that they need to do differently or better in order to achieve those high standards of excellence, they need feedback. We all need feedback. It's like, if I were a singer or a professional athlete, let's just say a basketball player, if I shoot a free throw, I'm getting immediate performance feedback, aren't I? I either made the shot or I missed the shot. I know that if I made it, I should probably do something similar. If I missed it, I might want to think about, is my elbow at the right angle? Am I following through right? Whatever it might be. In jobs every single day, we don't have that kind of real-time feedback mostly. If I'm a salesperson and I'm making a call and I don't get an appointment, well, I didn't get the appointment, but I'm not exactly sure why that might be. And so the importance of, one, having really clear performance expectations, and then two, getting feedback in as near real time that follows that CRED model will allow me as the human to know, how do I need to calibrate myself differently? So it's not about getting defensive. In fact, when I'm getting feedback, and all of our research proves this out, when I'm getting feedback delivered with CRED, I start to seek it more. It's like when you start eating healthy, your body craves more healthy nutrients. When you're getting feedback that's delivered right, you want more. It's like, hey, tell me, what did I do well on that call? What did I do well with that client interaction? What did I do well in leading that meeting? Where can I get better? What's one thing you would suggest that I change? And in fact, what winds up happening is the employee starts to say, before the manager even does, you know what? Here's something that I think I could do better next time, or here's something that I think I did really well. What do you think? It totally changes the dynamic around feedback, which is really, really powerful.
Yeah. So let's go deeper into the CRED approach, because that's exactly what I was wanting to know is, how does, and you hit it right on the head, which is how is this, when we create a culture where feedback is delivered well, and it's timely, and it's in a way that people can receive well, then they start to actively seek it out instead of just waiting for it to come to them. They're excited to know how can they get better at what they're doing well, and how can they shore up their areas for growth. So can we go a little bit deeper into the CRED approach, and maybe give us an example of a team member who's receiving this type of feedback and what it would look like using this approach?
Absolutely. And like I did with the top 10 list, I'm going to add in one more layer here that is relevant, in many ways, but specifically I'm bringing this up because we have clients who are asking us this question all the time. And it's the M word, not Matt. It's a different M word. It's millennial. And we've got a lot of leaders who are saying to us, like, is it just the millennial generation? Like, what's wrong with these millennials? They're so entitled, and you can't give them feedback. And, they want a promotion 6 months after they've taken the new role. And what's wrong with them? And those are not exaggerations, by the way. People are actually saying these things to us on a regular basis. And the reality is those things are just not true. I mean, I'm sure they're true for some folks in the millennial generation, but they're just as true for Gen Xers and, folks that are, Gen Zers and even boomers. So forget about the generational nomenclature. What this suggests is to us from the work that we've done is you've got to be really clear with people on the standards of excellence. What is expected of me in this role? Without that kind of clarity, people are going to just guess what's expected of them. And they're going to try to do their very best. And sometimes their definition of very best is going to match yours, and sometimes it won't. So let's not leave those things to chance. And it's not about the millennials. It is about clear expectations. So if all that is true, we got that in place. Let's just take, a situation where maybe one of my consultants is leading a client facilitation. And so, if I'm giving this person feedback with CRED, then constructively, what I am going to talk about is, what are the things that I saw them do or not do? And I'm going to share information with them. What did I see them do or not do that helped to meet and aligned with the standards of excellence in that facilitation? Right? And I'm going to do things that specifically link to that constructively will help them understand what they did in connection with those standards. So that's the C part, right? Constructively, I want to make sure that I'm delivering this in a way where people can hear it. I'm not making it personal about them. I'm always making it about the performance.
Right. And it sounds like you're being very objective as well, right? So you've got these objective criteria of where there's clarity around what excellence looks like. And now you're not saying, like, hey, you did this 5 times, if that's not true. There were 2 times where this happened, or you were always doing this. You're trying to, I'm guessing this is from how you're describing this, that you're trying to be very objective and factual with this, right? To make it credible.
Yes. I had a client one time, one of the employees inside the client organization, who said in her performance review, she got dinged because her boss said she wasn't a team player. Not only is that not constructive, it's not specific. It was offered with no supportive detail. So the employee was left wondering, well, what does that mean? I think people like me. I think I like them. I try really hard. I show up for project meetings. I'm on time every day. Nobody's ever told me that I'm not a team player. So what does that even mean? That's not constructive, and it's certainly not objective. So we want to be constructive. So the reinforcing part, back to my consultant facilitation example, is right. I reinforce the things that the person did. So when you started the meeting, you framed it out really well. And here's specifically what you did that framed out the conversation really well. You laid out the agenda, you tied it back to the strategic initiatives, you connected it to where we left off in the last conversation. Those things I want to reinforce that you continue to do. Now, from a reinforcement standpoint, there were 2 things that I saw you do that I want to reinforce that they don't align with what we're looking to do. So in one case, you specifically mentioned to the client, you didn't do this, or you're not hearing me. That's placing the responsibility on the client, as opposed to, if we were taking full responsibility, we could say, there were deadlines that we had that everybody agreed to. Those deadlines were not missed. I think from a responsibility, our part could be, I could probably have sent out a reminder email or checked in with folks to make sure that everybody knew what was expected and met the deadlines. And what that does is it opens up space for the client then to say, you know what, I didn't do my part. I missed my thing also. So it lessens stress, it takes down defensiveness, and it opens up the space for people to really be vulnerable, which is missing in a lot of cases, because people, again, feel like if I failed at something, I'm going to get blamed, I'm going to get ostracized. And so it's not psychologically safe. So that's reinforcing what we want to see more of, keep doing that, and reinforcing where they could get better. The E part is the essential, just going back to the example that I mentioned. Those are specific things that people who facilitate in our consulting organization need to do. So I didn't talk about something that had nothing to do with the facilitation, like, hey, remember that other thing that you were supposed to do on that other engagement? Like, I really think you need to be doing better at that too. That would not be essential to the person's development in the context of the conversation that we're having. So we want to make sure that the feedback really stays focused on this swim lane of what we're talking about. And then the D from a developmental standpoint is, what I did suggest in this case, and I'm giving you and would suggest is, so here's something that you could do. Before you prepare for the next facilitation, let's do a little bit of a dry run. Walk me through the framing of how you're going to set this up. Let's kind of mock walk through it. I'll be the client, you be you, and let's see if you can apply the things that we just talked about. That would be how we would make that a developmental conversation. I would give some kind of prescription and even open up space for my consultant to say, 1 or 2 things that he or she thinks that person could do to get better before the next facilitation. That's a way to apply that model.
Perfect. And I'm guessing because of the importance that I believe there is, and I'm seeing you're alluding this, or you're stating this as well, in terms of the timeliness. So I'm guessing you're not waiting for the next one-to-one to give this feedback. In most cases, this is, unless it just happens to be the next day or something, but you're giving this type of feedback as soon as possible, right? Not waiting for a one-to-one.
Absolutely. Near real time or real time. So if we had a client meeting, this is a practice that we have here in our organization, is especially if it's a big client delivery meeting, on the heels of that same day or the very next morning, we will book an internal debrief, a retrospective to talk about what worked, what didn't work, what are the next steps, make sure everybody's clear. We'll use it as a training opportunity as a team, but also, in one-on-one conversations where that's appropriate. The biggest mistake that I see leaders make is, waiting for the next one-to-one if they're on a weekly or every other week cadence isn't the worst thing in the world. But if they wait for the next performance review, that's a killer, man. That is it's an absolute killer. Over 80% of people that we've surveyed, and we've worked with, I think, over 700 companies over 20 years. So we're talking about tens of thousands of employees in these client organizations, easily, maybe hundreds of thousands at this point. Over 80% of them say that performance reviews and one-on-ones are not useful. Part of the reason they're not useful is if I have an annual performance review, it's like, who remembers all of the all of the things, all the conversations, all the whatever, and the interactions. And so employees and managers are often frustrated because it takes them over 3 hours on average, if they're only doing an annual performance review, to prepare for that review. Neither the manager nor the employee are looking forward to it. Neither finds it valuable. And so what's the point? What's the point?
We hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please hit that like button so this video can help other people too. We love getting feedback, so please leave a comment below letting us know what you found most helpful in this video. If you'd like to listen to the entire 30-minute interview, please visit businessleadershiptoday.com. The link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and opt in for notifications. Until next time, I wish you great success building a world-class organization that makes a positive impact in the lives of team members and in our world.